Oma jumped to her feet at once. Her fear disappeared, swallowed by anger. "You," she shouted, pointing at the princess. "I know who you truly are." Anyanwu smiled. "Of course you do, Oma the storyteller. I know you have been following me. I knew it the first day, but I let you be. Because you are not worth my time or my energy." Oma's heart pounded. "You think this is a game? You think I'm afraid of you? I will expose you. I will tell everyone in this village who you really are. No, what you are." Anyanwu chuckled. "Expose me?" she asked mockingly. "You already tried that, remember? But no one will believe you, and no one can stop me." Once upon a time, in the village of Ofianta lived a young maiden named Oma. She was young and very beautiful, with bright eyes and a smile that could melt the strongest heart. Oma was kind and jovial. She had a very free spirit and was friends with everyone. However, Oma had one big problem. She lied too much. She did not tell small lies though. She told big, fat, mature, concentrated lies. She lied so much that nobody knew when to believe her. If Oma greeted you good morning, you would have to check if the sun was truly up before responding to her greeting. Yes, it was that bad. Her friends called her Oma the storyteller, but they said it with a laugh and a touch of mockery. The worst part was that she told some of these lies just to impress her friends, make them jealous, and most times she did not even remember her lies, and so she ended up always getting caught. Let's take for instance the day Oma told her friends that a rich prince from a faraway city had seen her at the market and wanted to marry her. She said he promised to build her parents a house made of bricks. Initially, her friends did not believe her, but Oma literally swore with her life that she was speaking the truth. "My sisters," she said, "if I lie, let the gods strike me. You people think this is my usual stories, eh? It is not though. I was even shocked myself when he followed me home to see my father. Don't worry, when he comes, you will all see. After all, they say seeing is believing." Her friends were so excited. They actually believed her. But then, weeks passed and no prince came. When her friends asked about the so-called prince, Oma had totally forgotten her lie. She looked confused. "What prince are you talking about?" she asked. The maidens exchanged looks. Oma, the prince you said saw you at the market and wanted to marry you now," Chioma said. Oma, catching herself, immediately laughed. "Oh, that one. I changed my mind. I just realized I was going to miss you all and this village, and so I turned down his offer." "Ha!" Chinwe exclaimed. "Oma, you can lie. You even swore to the gods. You swore that the gods strike you, even though you knew you were lying." "No, it's not a lie, but I know you people will not believe me." The maidens burst into laughter. "Yes, we don't believe you." Chioma fired again. "You are trying to tell us that you turned down a prince because you will miss us and this village. You that we know, Oma." feigned innocence and smiled. Well, now that you have caught me, I was just joking with you girls. There was no prince. I didn't even know that two people would take it seriously, safe. The maidens looked at her with their hands folded over their chests. They had already gotten used to Oma and her cooked stories. The day that shocked the whole village the most was the day Oma tricked the entire village and sent them into panic mode. That day was the big Nkwo market day. The market was full as usual and everyone was busy, either buying, selling or hawking their wares. Suddenly, Oma ran into the market from nowhere, shouting, "The princess is coming! The princess is coming!" Immediately, everyone started running helter-skelter. Everyone started hiding their goods, their money. The next thing, Oma stood there and burst into laughter. At last, it was a lie. "I was just joking, oh," she said innocently, when the angry women scolded her. Her parents were worried that she would get herself into serious trouble one day. They called her later that night. "What you did today at the market was disrespectful, Oma," her father said worriedly. "How can you enter the market and trick people, most of which are as old as and even older than your parents? Okay, come to think of it, what if the princess was in the market truly when you did that rubbish? Do you know that what would have happened to you now?" Oma frowned. "But she was not there, Papa. Besides, I was only joking." "Ta!" her mother exclaimed. "What kind of joke is that? Oma, you have made yourself a joke in this village, lying here and there. You sent old men and women running today, and you say it is a joke. Don't worry. Continue. Oma, continue. One day, you will have something very serious and important to say, but no one will take you seriously. Continue." Oma sat down in her hut that night and thought long and hard about what her mother had said to her. And she saw that she had truly taken things too far. She had been bored and wanted to have a good laugh. So that was why she decided to shake the market a bit. Yes, she had made a mistake, but her little game made one thing clear. The entire village lived in the fear of their princess. This princess I've been talking about is none other than Princess Anyao, the 8th child and only daughter of King Amansi and Queen Olimma. Her birth seemed ordinary to the king and the villagers, but the truth was that there was nothing ordinary about it. The queen had given birth to 7 healthy sons for the king, and so she was desperate for a daughter. She wanted a pretty little girl she could pamper and adorn with beautiful wrappers and beads. A little girl whose hair she could style into different patterns. But she just continued to pop out male children. And so Queen Olimma decided to find a solution to her problem. She went to the great Onuku river which bordered Ofianta. She wanted to see Mirimma, the river goddess. She had heard that the goddess gave whoever came to see her whatever they desired. And so, for 7 days and 7 nights, Queen Olimma begged and offered sacrifices to Mirimma, the goddess of the river, until the goddess herself showed up and promised her that she would get what she wanted. Truly, she got the daughter she desired, But what the queen did not know was that the child was no ordinary child, and her gift would come with a price. The king and the entire kingdom were happy at the birth of the princess. A great feast was prepared. People ate and drank and danced. But as Anyanwu grew, that joy would be replaced by fear and dread. Anyanwu was feared in the whole of Ofianta. She was notorious, fearless, filled with pride, and to crown it all, she forcefully took things from the villagers, commanded anyone she saw carrying anything that caught her fancy to take it to the palace for her. All the person had to do was look into her eyes, and fear would grip them. Anyone who tried to be brave got the beating of their lives from her bodyguards, and she would still end up taking what she wanted. Whether young or old, it did not matter to Anyanwu. Whenever she walked through the village, people went into hiding, and on several occasions, the unfortunate ones get caught. Unfortunate ones like Chibo, who was pulling his family's fat goat back from where it had gone to graze one fine evening. "Stop," Anyanwu commanded. "I like that goat. Bring it to the palace for my dinner." Chibo's eyes filled with tears. "Please, my princess," he begged. "This goat is for my mother. She will sell it to buy food for our household on the next market day. If you take this goat from us now, we will be hungry. Please," he cried. Anyanwu just stared at him, her eyes cold and hard. "And what concern of mine is that? How dare you speak to me?" Fear gripped Chibo's heart. He could not speak anymore. One of the guards roughly took the rope from his hand, and Anyanwu smiled and walked away as the boy broke down in tears. Or was it Nkechi, a poor widow, an old woman who was struggling to carry a heavy basket of yams to the market? She hoped to sell them to treat her swollen feet. Anyanwu happened to be passing through the village and saw the big fresh yams. Unfortunately for Nkechi, she could not run. "You," she said, pointing at the old woman, "take those yams to the palace. It looks fit to grace the table of a princess like me." "My princess, have mercy," Nkechi pleaded. "This is all I have." "Then you should work harder next season," Anyanwu fired back. Nkechi fell to her knees. "Please, my princess, I am old. I have no one to help me. Please, don't take away my yams." But Anyanwu simply nodded to her guards, and they roughly shoved the old woman aside and lifted the basket of yams. Nkechi, in tears, watched as her yams were taken away. Then came the day she passed by Uguago's compound and saw him cleaning a beautifully carved wooden stool outside his hut. Anyanwu walked majestically into his compound. "I want that stool. It will look better in my bedchambers," she said to Uguago. The man, shocked, replied, "But my princess, I'm sorry, but you cannot have this stool. My father made this as a gift to me, and it is all I have left of him." Anyanwu's face hardened. "How dare you refuse me so disrespectfully? Guards, teach him respect." The guards pounced on the innocent young man and pounded him mercilessly. In the end, Obuago lay on the ground and watched helplessly as a guard picked up his father's stool and carried it off. You see, this here is just a few of the many cruel things Princess Anyanwu was capable of. The worst place to be was the market, when Anyanwu decided to grace it with her presence. "Hide! Hide! The princess is coming!" someone would shout. Suddenly, everyone would start grabbing their best goods, the colorful fabrics, the shiny jewelry, the ripe fruits, and hiding them under their tables. They would rather sell nothing that day than have their best things taken away from them for free. If anyone was brave enough to say no, Anyanwu's guards would beat them until they could not stand, and in the end, she would always take exactly what she wanted. No one would stop her. She was a blessing to the queen, but a curse to the entire village. This matter worried the king so much. He was very unhappy. His people were suffering. They lived in fear of his own daughter, and there was nothing much he could do about it. He talked and talked. In fact, Anyanwu was his headache. It was as if she was after his life. The elders complained non-stop. The villagers suffered. But Anyanwu did not care about what anyone felt or thought. Not even her mother, who begged her day and night to be kind towards the people. Anyanwu would insist that she was the princess of Ofianta and she would do as she pleased. The queen at a point started to regret going to the river goddess for a child. She wished she had been content with her sons. But as they say, it was already too late to cry over spilled milk. Unknown to everyone, Anyanwu was on a mission to frustrate King Amansi's rule, destroy his kingdom and all that he had built for himself. Years ago, Mirima, the goddess, had fallen in love with a young prince who found solace in sitting by the river and the daydreaming of faraway lands. She appeared to him one day, and from there, they became close. So close that Mirima began to fall in love with him. However, she knew that nothing would come out of it, for they were from different worlds. But still, it did not stop the bond that had formed between the both of them. But then, tragedy struck. One day, what Mirima found deep in the river was her prince's lifeless body. Immediately she touched him. She was transported and saw what had happened to him. It happened that the king back then had two sons born by his two wives, Prince Dike and Prince Amansi. Prince Dike was older than the both of them and the heir to the throne. But the other queen and her son Amansi had bigger plans. They wanted to eliminate Prince Dike and take over the throne. The queen poisoned Prince Dike, and to make it look like he mysteriously disappeared, she and her son hid his body and later on threw him into the river. Mirima was enraged when she saw what happened. She screamed and cried so hard. And then she went ahead, took his body deep into the ocean and buried him there, where she would be close to him forever. But she vowed to herself that someday, somehow, she would avenge the death of Prince Dike. When Queen Ulima came to beg for a child, it was like serving her the opportunity she so desired on a platter of gold, for she was no other than King Amansi's wife. And so she sent Anyanwu to the king to torment him, destroy his rule, and ultimately take his life. The plan was going well until Oma saw what she was not supposed to see. Princess Anyanwu usually sneaked out of the palace very, very early in the morning when the village was still asleep. She would make her way to the river where Mirima awaited her. There, she would take her original form and update her master on what was going on in the palace and the village. This particular morning, Oma, the professional liar and storyteller, had eaten something that upset her stomach, and so, while others were asleep, she was busy relieving her runny stomach. She had gone to defecate for the 1000th time early that morning when she saw what was unmistakably Princess Anyanwu passing. She was surprised. Where would the princess be going unguarded at such an hour? And the way she moved without any fear made Oma curious. And so without thinking, she followed. Imagine her shock when she found herself at the river. She quickly hid behind a shrub to know what the princess was up to, and then she saw it. The princess stepped into the water and transformed into a spiritual being, a thing she had only heard in stories. A mermaid with a shiny blue tail and a hair so dark and long. Oma held back a scream, but the surprise was not over. Princess Anyanwu made an incantation in a language Oma did not understand, and then a beautiful radiant woman with a similar tail and a fuller hair with a golden crown appeared. Oma could not believe her eyes. Fear gripped her, and as if her life depended on it, she carefully stepped back from her hiding place and ran all the way home. She was shaken by the time she reached home. What she saw was too big for her to handle. She was still trying to make sense of it until sleep claimed her. But then she woke up the next morning, hoping she had been dreaming or hallucinating. She did not say a word to anyone. For the first time in her life, Oma was silent for the whole day. She had no story to tell. Her mind was occupied by thoughts of what she saw. She wanted to be sure if what she had seen was real. She decided to wait out for the princess. Just maybe she would visit the river again. And so Oma came out again to the same place she sighted Princess Anyanwu the day before, and at the same time. And just to prove her right, the princess came passing again. Oma too fearlessly followed again, but at a safe distance, just like the day before. They reached the river and Princess Anyanwu transformed into the same mermaid and then called out to Mirima, the same spirit she had seen the day before. This time, Oma knew for sure that she was not hallucinating. She knew for sure that what she was seeing was really standing right there in front of her. She knew for sure that the princess is no ordinary human being. She is indeed a water spirit. How shocking this revelation was. The mermaid seemed to be saying something very important, and Oma tried to listen to their conversation. Since she was already there, she might as well gather enough gist so that she could have an interesting story to tell. And then she heard it. Mirima instructed Princess Anyanwu that it is time to strike. Time to make the king pay for what he and his now late mother had done. She tells Anyanwu to make sure that the king confesses to his sins or risk his whole sons being wiped away. After which, Anyanwu is to touch him with a small pebble. This, Mirima said, will take what is left of his miserable life away, and then you can come back home to me, my child. Yes, mother, Anyanwu said as she bowed and collected the stone. And then Mirima disappeared back into the water. Before Oma's eyes, Princess Anyanwu transformed back into the form they knew her in and walked back towards the village like nothing had happened, smiling to herself. Oma did not know that Anyanwu knew that she was there. She knew she had been followed, but she was not bothered by who was doing the following. She knew exactly who it was. Oma went home with her heart pounding like a drum. What she had seen was too heavy for her young mind to carry. Even when she tried to sleep, her eyes refused to close. Each time she shut them, she saw Princess Anyanwu turning into that shining creature from the river, and she heard the goddess's voice echoing in her head. Before the first cock crowed, Oma had already jumped up from her bamboo bed. She could not hold the secret any longer. She needed to tell someone. And so, she rushed straight to her mother's hut and woke her up. "Mama, wake up, I saw something." Her mother opened her eyes. "Oh, what is it again, Oma?" "Mama, I saw the princess." Her mother rubbed her sleepy eyes. "Oma, which story is this one again? Which one is that you saw the princess? Everyone sees the princess." Oma shook her head. "No, Mama, I'm not telling stories this time. Oh, I saw Princess Anyanwu by the river. She changed into a mermaid, half human being, half fish, and the goddess told her to kill the king." Her mother's eyes widened for a moment, then narrowed again. "Tofiakwa, will you stop this your nonsense? Every day it is one strange story or another. You better leave these foolish lies and look for a man that will marry you." "Mama, I swear it's true," Oma cried, holding her chest. "If I lie, let the gods strike." "Keep quiet before I slap that mouth shut," her mother barked. "You will bring trouble upon yourself one day." But Oma would not stop shaking her head. Tears filled her eyes. "I know what I saw, Mama," she whispered. Oma, how many times did I call you? You know what you saw. Ngwa, tell me. What did you see? How did you see it? In fact, how did you get to the river? When? Where?" her mother exclaimed. Oma shifted uncomfortably. "Yesterday, I went to ease myself very early in the morning when I saw the princess passing, and so I followed her. She entered the water and turned into a mermaid with a fish tail. She was talking to the river goddess. I waited again today and she passed, and I followed her again and I saw again. They want to kill the king, Mama." Her mother burst out laughing. "Hey. Omalicha, my daughter, you sound like a mad woman. But I know you well. You end up saying, 'It was a joke.' But let me tell you, make sure you don't say this thing outside though, because you will put yourself into serious trouble. Anyway, everybody could know you. So I'm sure nobody's going to listen to this your made up story that you cooked up when others were sleeping. Oma became so sad. Her own mother thought she was a joke. She left her mother's hut more troubled than before. She decided to share her findings with her friends. At least those ones she knew would believe her for sure. Later that morning, she joined her two closest friends, Chioma and Chinwe, as they went to fetch water from the stream. Her mind was boiling, and before long, the words poured out again. My sisters, something terrible is about to happen. The princess is not who we think she is. In fact, she is a water spirit, and she wants to kill the king. The two maidens stopped, looked at each other, and burst out laughing. Oma, you and your stories, Chioma said, clutching her belly. You will not kill us with laughter. I beg, this is still very early in the morning. Chinwe shook her head. Oma, you need to be very careful. If the king hears this your joke, you will spend your days in the palace dungeon. Be very careful. Oma hissed. This is not a joke. I saw the princess transform into a water spirit, half human, half fish, with a shiny blue tail, and she was speaking to who I know is Mirima, the river goddess. Hey! Oma! Chioma exclaimed. You've started again. I hail you. Oma stamped her foot on the ground. I am not lying. I swear with my life. Ah, Haba, you always swear with your life. Chinwe interrupted, still laughing. That's how you swore with your life the other day that the rich prince was coming to marry you. One day, the gods will actually strike you. They laughed all the way to the stream, leaving Oma standing alone, her hands trembling. Nobody believed her, not her mother, not her friends. But she knew the truth. The king's life was in danger, and she was the only one who could stop it. But how? How could she do it if no one believed her? Oma did not sleep that night. Her eyes stayed open all night long, her mind replaying what she had seen at the river over and over again. At this point, she did not know which one pained her the most. Is it the fact that no one actually believed her? Or is it the fact that they turned the whole thing into a joke? How could she live with knowing that the king would die very soon and yet stand by and watch it happen? Till dawn, Oma lay awake. She sat by her fireplace, staring at the dying embers, her hands trembling. Then, with sudden resolve, she rose. If no one will help me, she whispered, I will help myself. I will go to the king and tell him everything. Surely he will listen to me. And so, Oma picked up herself, dressed up in her fine wrapper and beads, and began her journey to the palace. The sun had barely stretched its arms over Ofianta when she arrived at the palace gates. It was still very early, but she knew the king would be seated with his chiefs, as they usually did every Afo day. And truly, the king and his chiefs were already gathered in the throne room, discussing matters of the land. Two tall guards stood by the entrance, spears in hand. Oma, panting, bowed slightly. Please, she said breathlessly, I must see the king. I bring news of great danger. The guards looked at each other and scoffed. Go home, woman. one said, rolling his eyes. The king has no time for talk with people like you. This morning, he is in a closed meeting. I will not go, Oma cried, stepping forward. If the king dies because you stopped me, his blood will be on your heads. The guards frowned. Are you deaf? Are you the one that wants to kill our king? Leave this place before we throw you into the dungeon. But Oma's voice rose fearlessly like thunder. I said, I must see the king, she shouted, her small frame shaking with desperation. The courtyard came alive. The maids looked out from behind the pillars, and a few guards rushed in. She began to wail, and her wails echoed against the palace walls, and at last, King Amansi, disturbed by the noise, frowned and asked, What is the commotion outside? One of the guards bowed deeply. Your Majesty, it is a village girl causing a scene at the gate. Bring her here, the king commanded. Let us hear what kind of madness drives her. When Oma entered the great hall, her heart almost stopped. The king sat, tall and regal, on his carved stool, gold and red light from the windows resting on his crown. The elders sat in a half circle before him, their faces grave. Oma's knees gave way. She dropped to the floor, her forehead pressed to the earth. Your Majesty, she gasped, her voice trembling. Forgive me for the noise, I beg you, but you must listen to me. It's about the princess, your daughter, Princess Anyao. The king's brows furrowed lightly. What about my daughter? What has she done this time? Oma's voice cracked. Your Majesty, she is not who you think she is. I saw her with my own eyes by the river. She turned into a mermaid before me, half human, with a long shiny blue tail and a hair so long. She spoke with the river goddess Mirima, and that goddess told her to destroy you. She gave her a stone that will take your life away if she touches you with it. My king, she plans to kill you. The hall fell silent. A few elders exchanged glances. Then one of them, a round man with a thick beard, suddenly pointed at her and laughed bitterly. Ha! Is this not the same girl who made us flee the market on the last market day and turned around to say that it was a joke? Imagine the disrespect. The hall broke into uneasy murmurs. Another chief banged his staff on the floor. Your Majesty, he said, this girl is Oma, daughter of Udenwa. She is not to be taken seriously because she is known for her foolish tales and restless tongue. There is no truth in her mouth. To let her speak here is to stain the sacred ground. Oma's heart broke. My elders, this one is true, she cried, her tears spilling freely. I know I have lied a lot of times before, but not this time. I swear by my life, by the gods, and by the river itself. What I saw was real. Please, believe me. The king's life is in danger. They plan to end his life. But her voice only seemed to anger King Amansi the more. His eyes darkened, and his voice came like a whip. How dare you speak such blasphemy about my own blood? My daughter, my only daughter, the crown princess of Ofianta. You dare weave this tale before the throne? Your Majesty, silence! The king thundered, rising from his seat. Now, show me. What proof do you have of what you say? Who can back up this ridiculous story you have woven to shame my daughter and the throne? Tears slipped down Oma's eyes. Things were not going the way she had thought it would. She shook her head slowly. No one, my king. It was just me who saw her. But I swear with my life, I know what I saw. This only made the king angry. Now, look here. For coming into my palace to utter such nonsense, for bringing shame before my council and disrupting this gathering, you will pay dearly. He turned to his guards. Take her away. Lock her in the dungeon until I say otherwise. Let her learn that lies have a price in Ofianta. 2 guards seized her roughly. Oma screamed, her cries echoing off the marble walls. I am not lying, I swear. She will kill you. The goddess has sent her. Please, believe me before it's too late. But the king had already turned his face away. As they dragged her through the courtyard, the palace maids peeped and whispered. Some shook their heads in pity. Others laughed, saying, Oma the liar has finally met her match. The guards pulled the screaming Oma outside the throne room, and in her mad attempt to free herself, she looked right and came eyeball to eyeball with none other than Princess Anyanwu for a split second, and she could swear that she had seen a wicked smile on Anyanwu's face. But then, Oma could not do anything, and so the guards continued to pull her past the sunlit corridors into the dark belly of the palace, where the air grew damp and cold, and the smell of rot filled her nose. When they threw her into the dungeon, she landed on the hard earth with a thud, and then the gates slammed shut with a heavy clang. For a long while, Oma lay there, her body trembling, her tears silent. The dungeon was so cold and lifeless. Oma sat on the bare ground, her back against the rough wall, staring at the little light that crept through the small window high above her head. Her eyes were swollen from crying, and her heart felt like a heavy stone sitting inside her chest. She was tired of trying to prove she was telling the truth. Her own mother had called her a liar. Her friends had mocked her. And now, the king, the very person she was trying to save, had thrown her into his prison, the darkest hole in Ofianta. That was when her mother's voice played in her head. One day, you will have something important to say and no one will take you seriously. Ah! Oma, remembering this, cried in a loud voice. That day had finally come, and it had come too soon. But as they say, there is no need crying over spilled milk. Night fell. Oma was still locked up. No food, no water. No one had even come to see her. She hugged her knees and closed her eyes, trying to keep herself from falling apart. She had never felt so alone in her entire life. Then suddenly, she heard soft footsteps. Oma raised her head, and what she saw made her heart skip. It was Princess Anyanwu herself. The flame from the torch in the king's hand danced on her golden wrapper and cast shadows across her proud face. Her eyes gleamed coldly in the dim light. The same eyes that made people freeze and run in fear. The guard bowed and left. The gates creaked open and Anyanwu stepped in, her scented oil filling the room, sweet but chilling like flowers that grow in a graveyard. Oma jumped to her feet at once, her fear swallowed by anger. You! She shouted, pointing at the princess. I know who you truly are. Anyanwu smiled, a slow mocking smile that did not even reach her eyes. Of course you do, Oma, the storyteller, she said softly. You have been following me like a shadow. I knew it the first day. I felt your trembling feet behind me, but I let you be because you are not worth my time nor my energy. Oma's heart pounded. You think this is a game? You think I'm afraid of you? I will expose you. I will tell everyone in this village who you truly are, what you are. The river goddess's servant, the one who came to destroy her own father. Anyanwu chuckled, and the sound echoed in the small room. Ha! Expose me? You mean again? You already tried that, remember? Oma's mouth went dry. No one believed you then. Anyanwu continued calmly. Not your mother, not your friends, not the chiefs, not even the king you came to save. They all laughed at you. They called you a liar. The same name you've carried since you were a child. Tell me, why would they believe you now? You cannot stop me, Oma. You cannot, and no one can stop me. Oma's lips trembled. She wanted to speak, but her throat tightened. Anyanwu walked closer until she stood right before her, her eyes shining like two dark rivers. You see, my dear Oma, she said softly, you have made this very easy for me. While you rot in this dungeon, I will finish what I came here to do. And by the time they realize the truth, it will be too late. May the gods punish you. Oma spat, her voice breaking with fury and fear. You will not succeed. You will not. Anyanwu leaned forward, her voice a whisper. The gods? She said with a smirk. But I am one of them. She turned and walked towards the gates, the torchlight still flickering. Oma's voice trembled behind her. Why are you doing this? What has the king done to you? Anyanwu stopped for a brief moment and looked back. There was a strange sadness in her eyes, just for a second, before her face turned cold again. Your king is not the man you all think he is. A man who kills his own brother to take his place is not worthy to be called a king, she said quietly. Oma shook her head in disbelief. Our king cannot do that. He is an upright man, an honorable man. Anyanwu laughed out loudly. Ha! 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 You gullible mortals. Don't worry. Very soon, you will all know the truth. Leaving Oma more confused than before, she stepped out and the gates slammed shut. Oma sank to the ground, her heart pounding in her chest. Her tears flowed freely now, but this time not from fear, from anger, and from helplessness. She realized that something far bigger than what she could control was going to happen. Very early the next morning, as soon as the cock crowed and the palace drums sounded, the king sat proudly in his throne room, surrounded by two of his most trusted chiefs. The matters of the kingdom were being discussed, and laughter floated in the air as they drank and jested. Then Princess Anyanwu walked in, graceful and calm as ever. Her smile was sweet and innocent. Behind her, came one of the palace maids, carrying a large calabash of palm wine. She bowed low before the king, and at Anyanwu's command, began to serve each of the chiefs their share. When it was the king's turn, Anyanwu herself stepped forward, held out the carved wooden cup with both hands, her eyes lowered in respect, her lips curved in a gentle smile. "My father," she said softly, "this is for you." The king took the cup, smiling back at her, and without a second thought, he gulped down the whole sweet palm wine. And then, immediately, he took the last drop. He froze. His hands began to shake. His eyes widened. His breathing grew heavy as he clutched his chest in pain. Murmurs filled the room as the chiefs stood up in confusion. "My king," one cried out. "What is happening?" the other shouted. But Anyanwu stood still. The smile had vanished from her face. A strange cold breeze filled the room. Her eyes were as though there was ice in them. Fear gripped the men. Anyanwu had totally transformed into something else. She looked down at her father. "Speak! Where is your brother? Tell everyone what happened to your brother," she commanded. Her voice was sharp and heavy. The king started screaming, wild, loud, started trembling. I'll speak, he cried. "I did it. I killed him. My mother and I killed Prince Dike and threw him into the water." A loud gasp ran through the throne room. The chiefs staggered backward in horror. By this time, the throne room was full. The queen had come running. The royal maids were all there. The guards, everyone watched with wide eyes as the king began to confess how he and his mother took his brother's life. He finished his confession eventually, but Anyanwu was not finished. She stepped forward, her movements slow. In her right hand glowed a small stone, black as night. She reached out and touched the king lightly on his forehead. And at once the king went stiff. His voice stopped. His body froze. He sat paralyzed on his throne, his eyes wide open but lifeless. Before anyone could move or speak, a great wind swept through the room, cold and unseen. Anyanwu's body shimmered like smoke in the sunlight. "Your king will pay for what he has done. His life has been taken away from him and nothing can bring it back. I am Nguruma, daughter of Umirimma, the goddess of the great river Onuku, the one whose love your king slayed." In the blink of an eye, Anyanwu, or do I say Mpuruma, was gone, vanished. The chiefs screamed and scattered in all directions. The guards fled. The throne room became a place of chaos and fear. The queen stood frozen in terror. She could not believe what had just happened right in front of her. She turned and ran to her daughter's chambers, pushed the door open as she called out Anyanwu's name over and over again. But the room was empty. The bed neatly spread, the chest of clothes gone, no jewelry, no scent, no trace of life, as though Anyanwu had never existed. Queen Ulima fell to the ground and let out a piercing scream. Her daughter was gone. The river had taken back what they had given to her. To make matters worse, she was the one who had helped Mirima take her revenge. She had brought all this upon herself and her household. As for King Amansi, just like Ayanwu said, nothing could restore his health. The royal medicine man was called to treat the king. But the moment Aju touched the king, he removed his hand as if he had been burned. He shook his head and said, "The king has been cursed by the goddess. Nothing can bring him back." And with that, Aju turned and made his way out of the palace. Before night fell that same day, surrounded by his sons, the queen and a few chiefs, the king drew his last breath. The news spread all over Afenta, but nobody sympathized with the royal family. As far as they were concerned, the king deserved what he had gotten. And Oma Lecha, the chiefs commanded that she be released. They realized too late that she had been saying the truth. But who could blame them? Nobody believes a liar, especially one that had made lying a hobby. Not as if they pitied the king. They also thought that he caused his doom, and hence he was buried just like a common man. If there was one person who felt really bad for Oma, it was her mother. When Oma returned from her ordeal, looking every bit like what she had been through, her mother looked at her with tears in her eyes. "This is what I have been telling you, my child. Lying and fabricating stories cannot help you. The one time you tell the truth, no one believed you. Not even me, your mother. Now look what they did to you." Oma burst into tears. "I'm sorry, Mama, but I've learned my lesson. Henceforth, I'm a changed person. I cannot tell lies ever again. I will not try it in my whole life. What betide me if I ever try to tell lies again? If I open this my mouth to tell lies again, may the gods strike me." Mother and daughter held each other in a warm embrace. This was the beginning of a new Oma. Or maybe not. That same day, Chioma and Chinwe came to pay Oma, their friend, a visit and also apologize for not believing her. And Oma, being a sweet soul, accepted their apologies. "You both are my closest friends," she said, "and I cannot stay angry at you. Besides, it's my fault that no one believes me. But not to worry. Henceforth, I'm a changed person. My sisters, this experience has taught me a lot of lessons." Her friends were happy for her. At least they would rest from her wild stories. "So tell us," Chioma started, "how does the king's prison look like?" And so Oma the storyteller was once again unleashed. She began. "The king's dungeon is definitely not a place to be, my sisters. But that is not even the main gist." The girls chorused excitedly. "Ngwa, give us the full gist now," Chinwe said. Oma adjusted her position. "My sisters, you needed to see the way the crown prince was looking at me when I stepped into the palace. I could see the emotion in his eyes. He froze. He was immediately taken by my beauty. But trust me now, I acted unbothered. And when the king commanded the guards to take me away, he stood up for me. I had to plead with him to calm down. I had to plead with him because things may go wrong and then the king may decide to disown him, and I wouldn't want such to happen on my own account. So I had to plead with him to calm down. Very soon, I'm sure he will come looking for me. But I'll turn him down. I don't want to be saddled with the responsibilities of becoming the queen of Ofianta. My lovers, you can imagine the shock on Chioma and Chinwe's face as they shouted, "Oma!" Hey lovers, thank you for listening to this story. If you are new here, welcome to our community. If you enjoyed listening to this story as much as I enjoyed creating it, please give this video a big thumbs up. And if you've not done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, share, and share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll take my leave now, but I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.